So, a pleasant day to everyone. For today, we will now be moving on to the agrarian reform and its role in Philippine development. This lesson is divided into three parts: the 1899 Malolos Constitution, the 1935 Constitution, and the 1973 Constitution. But for today, we will be tackling more about the Malolos Constitution. So without further ado, let's get started. Before our discussion, let's have our ILO, or the Intended Learning Outcome. At the end of the discussion, students should be able to learn about the Malolos Constitution and know the composition of each title and the articles under each title. Now, let's begin our discussion. The 1899 Malolos Constitution was the first constitution in the Philippines development. It was also the constitution of the first Philippine Republic and was written by Felipe Calderon y Roca and Felipe Buencamino. It was promulgated on January 21, 1899, and is composed of 14 titles that establishes the political structure and rights of the newly reformed Philippine Republic, including the recognition of sovereignty residing exclusively in the people, the separation of church and state, and the guarantee of various rights and protections for Filipinos and foreigners. Moving on to the preamble. The preamble states that we, the representative of the Filipino people, lawfully convene in order to establish justice, provide for common defense, promote the general welfare, and ensure the benefits of liberty, imploring the aid of the sovereign legislation of the universe for the attainment of these ends, have voted, decreed, and sanctioned the following.
Title 1 The Republic. It states in Article 1, the political association of all Filipinos constitutes a nation whose state shall be known as the Philippine Republic. Or in Article 2, the Philippine Republic is free and independent. Article 3, sovereignty resides exclusively in the people. This title sets the stage for the subsequent sections of the Constitution, which detail the structure of government and the rights of the citizens, embodying the ideals of national identity and self-governance during a critical period in Philippine history. Title 2 The Government. Article 4 The government is described as popular, representative, alternative, and responsible. This emphasizes that the authority of the government is derived from the people and is accountable to them. The government exercises three distinct powers: legislative, executive, and judicial. Importantly, these powers cannot be consolidated in one person or corporation, ensuring a system of checks and balances. The legislative power, in particular, cannot be entrusted to a single individual, reinforcing democratic governance. Title 3 The Religion. Article 5 The state recognizes the freedom and equality of all religions as well as the separation of the church and the state. This article states that all religions are equal and ensures that no particular religion is favored or supported by the state over others. It also states the separation of the church and the state to prevent any religious group from exerting influence over state affairs and vice versa, thereby protecting the integrity of both institutions. Title 4 The Filipinos and their national and individual rights, where the Article 6 discusses Filipino citizenship. It defines Filipinos as individuals born in the Philippine territory, children of Filipino parents born abroad, naturalized foreigners, and those who have established domicile in the Philippines through 2 years of uninterrupted residence. Article 7. This article establishes that no Filipino or foreigner shall be detained or imprisoned except for the commission of a crime and in accordance with the law. This provision underscores the principle of legality, ensuring that individuals cannot be arbitrarily detained without due process. Article 8 mandates that all persons detained must be presented before judicial authority within 24 hours of their detention. It further stipulates that if the detained individual is not formally charged within 72 hours, the detention becomes legally ineffective. This article aims to protect individuals from prolonged detention without trial. Article 9. This article guarantees the right to a fair trial, stating that every accused person has the right to be informed of the charges against them and to defend themselves. It emphasizes the importance of legal representation and the right to a public trial, ensuring transparency in the judicial process. Article 10 provides for the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. This fundamental principle of criminal law protects individuals from being treated as guilty before a fair trial has determined their status. Article 11. This article safeguards against self-incrimination. It establishes that no individual can be compelled to testify against themselves, reinforcing the right to remain silent and the protection against coercive interrogation practices. Article 12 addresses the rights of individuals during legal proceedings, ensuring that they are treated with dignity and respect. It requires that any legal proceedings must adhere to established laws and procedures, reinforcing the rule of law. Article 13. This article emphasizes the protection of personal liberty and security. It prohibits arbitrary searches and seizures, ensuring that individuals' homes and personal belongings cannot be searched without a warrant issued by a competent authority based on probable cause.
Article 14 states that cases shall be settled in court with proper procedure that is prescribed by the law. The judge or the court shall decide matters in any cases. In Article 15, it states that, except with the situations that are stated by the Constitution, people who are imprisoned without any legal procedure shall be released upon their petition or the petition of another person. The law shall decide the consequences of any person who are involved in any illegal detention. Article 16 states that no rights shall be removed from any person temporarily or permanently, unless if it is in accordance with the court. Any person who violates this law shall be liable for the damages caused. Article 17 states that no property shall be removed from a person unless it is in the public interest and or authorized by the authorities. The owner shall be compensated for any property taken. Article 18 shall be forced. No one shall be forced to pay any tax that is not approved or not in accordance with the law. In Article 19, free exercise of rights shall not be taken away from any Filipino who is in full enjoyment of their rights. And Article 20 states that no Filipino shall be deprived of their right to freedom of speech, right to objectives that are not against public morals, and the right to send petitions. It also states that all petitions shall not come with armed forces. Article 21 states that the exercise of the rights provided for in the preceding article shall be subject to general provisions regulating the same. In Article 22, crimes committed while exercising human rights shall be punished by the courts in accordance with the law. Article 23 states that any Filipino may establish and maintain institutions of learning in accordance with the laws authorizing them. Public education shall be free and obligatory in all schools of the nation. In Article 24, foreigners are free to reside in Philippine territory. They may have occupations and professions for which no special authorization from the government is required. Article 25 states that Filipinos who are in full enjoyment of their political and civil rights may travel freely and has the rights to change their location of their residence and belongings outside of the Philippines, but with the exception of their duties to pay for public utilities or military duty. Article 26 states that unnaturalized foreigners are not allowed to have any position of authority or jurisdiction.
In Article 27, it states that all Filipinos have responsibilities both in terms of national defense and in contributing financially to the state's expenses. In Article 28, it ensures that the rights listed are not only the ones people have, implying that there are other rights that might also be protected. Article 29 guarantees that public officials can be prosecuted without any additional permissions, reinforcing accountability and legal oversights. Article 30 allows for the temporary suspension of specific rights for state security under extraordinary circumstances. A special law governs during the suspension, and both the suspension and special law require National Assembly approval. If the Assembly is not in session, the government can act with the Permanent Commission but must call the Assembly back promptly. Suspensions cannot exceed the specific rights and do not permit the banishment or deportations of Filipinos. Article 31 prohibits judging individuals by special laws or tribunals and bars special privileges not authorized by law. Military and naval laws apply only to related offenses. Article 32 forbids Filipinos from creating laws based on primogeniture restricting property rights or accepting foreign honors without government consent. The government also cannot establish such institutions or confer foreign honors. Those special laws can reward significant services to the nation. Title 5. The Legislative Power. Article 33 establishes that the legislative power in the Philippines is vested in an assembly of representatives of the nation, which will be organized according to law. Article 34 specifies that members of the assembly represent the entire nation, not just their entire individual electors. Article 35 adds that no representative shall receive any binding instructions or imperative mandates from their electors. Article 36 specifies that the Assembly must meet annually, with the President of the Republic holding the authority to convene, suspend, close, or dissolve its sessions, according to legal provisions set by the Assembly or the Permanent Commission. Article 37 mandates that the Assembly must remain open for at least 3 months each year, not counting the time spent on its organization. In Article 38, it states that in exceptional cases, the Assembly may be convened outside the regular schedule and its session extended up to 1 month, but no more than twice per legislative term as decided by the Permanent Commission. In Article 39, the National Assembly and special representatives will form committees to organize the Assembly and elect a new president at least 1 month before the representatives' terms end.
Article 40. In the meantime, the two president has been chosen, this function shall be exercised by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, whose office shall be taken over by the one justices of the court in accordance with law. Article 41. Any session of the Assembly held outside the period of ordinary legislature shall be unlawful and void the case provided Article 30, and in which Assembly has constituted itself into a tribunal of justice shall be accepted, but in the latter case no other function shall be exercised except that pertaining to the judicial function. Article 42. The session of the Assembly shall be public, however a session may be held in secret upon petition of a certain number of each member fixed by rules, deciding afterwards by an absolute majority of votes of the members present if the discussion on the same subject has to continue in public. Article 43. The President of the Republic shall communicate with the Assembly by means of message, which shall be read by Department Secretary. The Department Secretary shall have the right to be heard in the Assembly upon their request, and they may be represented in the discussion of certain bills by commissioner appointed by decrees of the President of the Republic. Article 44. The Assembly may constitute itself as a tribunal of justice to hear and determine the crimes committed against the security of the state by the President of the Republic and the members Council of Government, by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and by the Solicitor General of the nation by means decree, promulgating it by the Permanent Commission of the President of the Republic. Upon petition of the Solicitor General or Council Government, the law shall determine the mode of the and manner of the accusation, instruction, and disposition of the proceedings. Article 45. No member of the Assembly shall be prosecuted nor heard on the word or the opinion expressed by him, nor by the vote taken by him in the discharge of his office. Article 46. No member of the Assembly shall be prosecuted criminally without authority of the Assembly or of the Permanent Commission to which an immediate report to the PAC shall be made for its proper action. The imprisonment, detention, of apprehension of a member of the Assembly shall not be carried without prior authority of the same by the Permanent Commission. The moment the Assembly is notified of the order of imprisonment, it shall incur liability within 2 days following the notification is thus authorized the imprisonment or give the reason upon which the refusal is based. Article 47. The National Assembly shall have the following additional powers. Number 1. To approve rules for its internal government. Number 2. To examine the legality of the election and the legal qualification of elected members. 3. To elect its president, vice president, and secretaries until the assembly has been dissolved. The president, vice president, and secretaries shall continue to exercise their office for the period of 4 legislative terms. 4. To accept the resignation of its member and grant privilege in accordance with rules. Article 48. No bill shall become law without having been voted on by Assembly to approve a bill. The present in Assembly of at least one-fourth of the total number of the members whose election have been duly approved and the taking of the oath of office shall be necessary. Article 49. No bill shall be approved by the Assembly until it has been voted upon a whole and subsequently article by article. Article 50. The Assembly shall be have the right of censure each of the members, the right of interpretation. Article 51. The initiative interpretation of bills belong to the President of the Republic and to the Assembly. Article 52. Any member of the Assembly who accept from the government's any pension, employment, or office with salary is understood to have the amounts his membership from this shall be except the employment as Secretary of the Government of the Republic, other offices provided for by special law. The office of representative shall be for a term of 4 years, and shall be composed by a sum fixed by law, according to circumstance. Those who absent themselves during the entire period of the legislative session shall not be entitled to any compensation, but they may be allowed to recover the right to compensation should they attend subsequent.
Title 6. The Permanent Commission. This title has 2 articles. The first one is Article 54. It declares that the Permanent Commission is the designated body tasked with supervising affairs during the Assembly's recess, and it requires that this body choose its leader at its prayer meeting. Before the Assembly takes a break or adjournment, it must elect 7 of its own members, and these 7 elected members will constitute a group known as the Permanent Commission. It also has leadership appointment that the Permanent Commission must choose its president and secretary. The next article is Article 55. As required by Constitution, the Permanent Commission convenes when called upon by its presiding officer. During the Assembly's break, the Permanent Commission plays a pivotal role in making sure the pressing issues and important tasks are handled efficiently. Until the Assembly's regular session resumes, the Permanent Commission can determine if there is enough reason to initiate proceedings against high officials such as the President, representatives, department secretaries, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and the Solicitor General. Based on the Constitution provision, the Commission handles unresolved issues that require attention before the Assembly reconvenes. The next title is the Title 7, the Executive Power. This title has two articles. The first one is Article 56. It explains that although the President is the principal executive power holder, the department secretaries are responsible for the day-to-day management and exercises of this authority. The President of the Republic holds the executive power of the government, and the President exercises this power with the help of department secretaries who manage various government departments or ministries. The next one is Article 57. The article highlights the need to follow administrative autonomy and decentralization principle as well as current legal requirements in carrying out this responsibility distribution. This implies that to the extent permitted by law, every level of government, local, provincial, and the state, should have the power to conduct its own affairs independently. The administration of the specific interests of town is managed by the popular assemblies. Also, to provincial matters is handled by the provincial assemblies. The next title is Title 8, the President of the Republic, and it has 15 articles. The first one is Article 58. This article describes the election process, the duration of the presidency, and the potential for consecutive terms. In this article, the elected president, his word term is 4 years only. The president is elected by an absolute majority of votes. This means that the candidate must receive more than half of the total votes cast. The voting takes place in the assembly and by the special representatives chosen in chamber assemblies, and the president is eligible for re-election. That means he or she can have one term or more if she re-elects. The next one is Article 59. According to this article, the president is in charge of approving legislation as well as directing its implementation. The president has the right to propose new laws or changes to existing laws, just like members of the assembly. Once the assembly votes and approves a bill, the president is responsible for formally enacting it. This is known as promulgation. The president must ensure that the laws are properly amended and followed. The next article is Article 60. It assigns the executive branch the duty of enforcing law in a way that protects national security and internal peace. This involves action needed to uphold domestic stability, prevent disturbance, and manage public safety. The authority to execute law covers situations that are essential for maintaining internal public order and ensuring the external security of the state. Also to protect the state from external threats or aggression. The next one is Article 61. It guarantees the president prompt action on approved legislation, formalizing laws within a designated time frame following the assembly's approval. The president is required to promulgate laws that have been approved by the assembly within 20 days of receiving them. The next one is Article 62. This article is the opposite or inverse of the Article 61. It states that it makes sure that in the event that the president delays or the refuses to sign a law, the assembly has procedure to review and possibly overrule the president's objections, and the government is then required to put the law into effect within a set amount of time. If the president not promulgate a law within 20 days of receiving it, the president must return the law to the assembly. When returning the law, the president must provide reason for not promulgating it. If the president does not return the bill within 20-day period, the government is obligated to promulgate the law anyway. The next article is Article 63. It guarantees that even in cases where the president disagrees with the content of a law, he or she must act swiftly and formally when the assembly deems it urgent. If the assembly by an absolute majority vote declares that a law needs to be promulgated urgently, this designation must be respected. The president may request that the assembly reapprove the urgent law. The assembly is required to comply with this request and cannot refuse. Even after promulgating the urgent law, the president can record their objections or disagreements with the bill. The next one is Article 64. It also guarantees the legal enforceability of a law 30 days following their official publication, offering a standardized and transparent procedure for the enactment of new laws. Laws are promulgated by being published in the official Gazette of the Republic. This is the formal publication method used to announce new laws. The laws take effect 30 days after their publication in the official Gazette. The next is Article 56. It gives the President considerable power to make defense and foreign policy decisions, but the Assembly has important oversight powers to guarantee that these choices have the backing of the entire legislature. The President has command over the Army and the Navy, meaning they are responsible for the country's military force. The President has the power to declare war, but this action requires prior consent from the Assembly. Additionally, the President can negotiate and ratify treaties with other countries. However, these treaties also need to approve by the Assembly before they become effective. For the next following article will be discussed by Vince Sumaway.
Article 66. This article ensures that significant decisions like peace treaties which have major implications for a country or entity are subject to a formal approval process. It provides a system of checks and balances, allowing elected or appointed representatives to review and endorse such critical agreements before they become official. Article 67. It specifies the duties of the President of the Republic, including overseas government employees, appointing key officials, managing international relations, ensuring justice, granting pardons, and performing ceremonial functions. Article 68. It describes special powers that the President may exercise if authorized by a special law. These powers include altering Philippine territory, managing foreign military presence, entering into various treaties, granting amnesties and pardons, and coining money. Article 69. It allows the President to issue detailed regulations necessary for the practical enforcement and application of laws, ensuring these regulations align with the specific requirements outlined in the laws themselves. This helps bridge the gap between the enactment of laws and their actual implementation. Article 70. It outlines a process for the President to dissolve the Assembly early contingent on obtaining majority approval from the representatives. It ensures that following such a dissolution, there will be prompt new elections to form a new legislative body, thereby maintaining democratic governance and continuity. Article 71. It limits the grounds on which the President can be held legally accountable, specifying that high treason is the only crime for which the President can face liability. This provision underscores the seriousness of the offense required for such accountability and often reflects the intention to protect the President from being subjected to legal actions for other political or policy disagreements. Article 72. It ensures that the President's salary remains stable and unaffected by the political pressures or changes during their time in office. It aims to maintain financial consistency and avoid potential conflicts of interest or manipulation related to presidential compensation. Title 9. The Secretaries of Government. Article 73. This article outlines the leadership and organizational structure of the government, specifying the roles and responsibilities of each member of the council. Article 74. This article ensures that presidential actions are validated and authenticated through the signature of the appropriate secretary, and no official action is considered legitimate unless it follows this process. Article 75. This article establishes the signatories are accountable both as a group for the general administration and individually for their own actions. Article 76. This article outlines the procedure required for a secretary to be cleared of responsibility after being found guilty, emphasizing the need for a majority vote in the assembly for such an exception. Title 10. The Judicial Power. Article 77. The court has exclusive authority order to apply the laws. It is for all civil and criminal trials that working it their case that the codes of laws providing evidence but the court decision to the case. They govern by one code of laws and procedure. Article 78. It explains that local ordinances must comply with higher laws for the courts to consider them in their decisions. Courts have the authority to enforce local regulations if they're consistent with the general legal framework.
Hello guys, it's my time to present to you the 1899 Constitution, also known as the Malolos Constitution. The Title 10, also known as the Judicial Power, and under the Article 79, it established the independence of the judiciary, ensuring that judges can operate without the interference from other branches of government. It ensuring the autonomy and the check and balance of the courts. And the Article 80 specifies the structures and the hierarchy of the courts, outlining their functions and the procedures for appointing the judges. And the Article 81 describes the jurisdictions of the courts and the conditions which they can adjudicate cases. The Title 10 discusses the judiciary's independence, structures, and the jurisdictions, emphasizing the court's role in upholding the law without the external influence. The Title 11, also known as the Provincial and the Popular Assemblies, and under its Article 82, defines the organization and functions of provincial and popular assemblies, which serves as the legislative bodies at the provincial level. It outlines their powers, the process of electing members, and their role in enacting local laws. The Title 11 covers their organization and the jurisdiction of provincial and popular assemblies, their legislative powers, and the election process for members. The Title 12, the administration of the state, the Article 83, describe the overall structures of the state administration, including the roles of various government departments and agencies. And the Article 84 outlines the power and the duties of the executive branch, particularly the head of state or the government. And the Article 85 to 90, these articles provide details on the administration of public services, the appointment of public officials, the management of state resources, and the framework for the government's accountability. The Title 12 details the organization and functions of the state administration, including the executive branch roles, public services, and the government accountability mechanism. And that's for me. Thank you.
Moving on to Title 14, the Constitutional Observance, Oath, and Language. Article 91 states that all the Filipino citizens, including the President of the Republic, the government, and the Assembly, will be observed by the legislative power upon complying with the provisions of the Constitution. Those who violates the Constitution will be duly corrected and is responsible for the violations held liable. Moving on, Article 92 states that all the government officials, including the President of the Republic, shall not enter the discharge of their office without taking the prescribed oath. The President shall take it before the National Assembly, and the other officials shall take their oath before the authorities determined by law. Article 93 states that languages used in the Philippines are optional and cannot be regulated except by the virtue of law, acts of public authority, and in courts. These kinds of acts allow the Spanish language to be used for the meantime. Moving on to the transitory provisions. Article 94 states that without prejudice to the provision of Article 48 and to the Acts of Commissions, the laws of the Republic shall be considered those found existing in these islands before the emancipation of the same. Moreover, it also states that the civil code relating to marriage and civil registry shall be deemed in force and effect by the transitory provision of Article 94. Moving on, Article 95 states that in the meantime that the laws referred to the preceding article have not been approved, Spanish laws may be amended by special laws. Article 96 states that once the laws have been approved by the Assembly in accordance to Article 94, the governance shall have the power to issue decrees and regulations for the organization of the state. Meanwhile, Article 97 states that the present President of the Revolutionary Government shall assume the later title of President of the Republic when the Assembly has convoked an election. Article 98 states that the present Congress shall last 4 years or for the duration of the present legislative term. Article 99 states that the governance is empowered to resolve all questions and difficulties. Article 100 states that the execution of Article 5, Title 3 shall be suspended until the Constituent Assembly meets in session. Lastly, Article 101 states that bill returned by the President of the Republic may not be repassed except in legislation of the following year. For the additional article, it states that all the estates, edifices, and other property possessed by the religious corporation in these islands shall be deemed restored to the Philippine state as of May 24, 1898, when the dictatorial government has been constituted in Cavite. And that's it for today. Thank you for listening. We hope that you have learned and gained something from today's lesson. And that would be all. Thank you and God bless.